There we are. We are live. Hello, welcome to the Channel CEO Podcast, the show that brings you behind the scenes with the CEOs and key executives building the technologies that impact the global IT channel. My name is Kevin Lancaster, CEO of Channel Program. In today's episode, we'll be speaking with Bobby Lind, Chief Executive Officer of ZestMSP. If you don't know Zest, they're on a mission to meet the needs of managed service providers by slaying the dragon of PSA complexity. And unlike other PSA solutions, Zest is configured with just the features you need and none of the complexity that is found in so many other PSA softwares. I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate to that. What's going to be cool is that we're going to get into Bobby's journey starting and growing an MSP. Very, what do you say, very visible, very open about the growth of that business. And then we'll get into how he's transitioned into Zest, how that was born out of frustration. As with many of the technologies that are in the channel today, they're often born out of frustration or solving a complex challenge. So with that, we're going to bring up Bobby to the show. And there he is.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me today. I do want to say right off, it's an honor to chat with you and do this. Just your background and everything you've done in this space, and being acquired with a company that you created and all that. I mean, it's great for me. I have to say that, I spent a long time, boots on the ground, like in the business, right? And so all these names and faces I've seen over the years, like yours and other people, now being on the vendor side, it's really fun for me to be able to get to talk to, these people that, I've seen and heard about all these years. I could list off a bunch of them, but yeah, it's so honored to speak with you today, and really just Channel Program too. I mean, one thing with me, I'm just no BS, right? I always say it like it is. And there's a lot of solutions out there that just don't really help. That's fine. But when I spot ones that do, I do yell from the rooftops, because it's exciting to me being in this, MSP space for over 20 years and stuff. And so for, Channel Program and unsolicited plug, right? I mean, it's great. We love it. And I think it's so good for MSPs to have a place to choose their tech stack and other things. And the way they're able to go about it, without being pushed one way or the other. And the calendar, I mean, absolute best in the industry. I mean, I love that calendar. Anyways, it's just, and your team have just been phenomenal. So we're really big fans of the Channel Program. So I just wanted to let you know up front, very exciting to chat with you today. So,
well, I will take it and honors mine. We do have similar backgrounds. I think that's what's interesting about, and I was kind of say being on this side or that side or what have you, but, I started out running an IT, organization, more geared towards selling into the public sector. But it's funny that the things that you learn along the way, being on one side, and then spinning out, almost born out of frustration as well, but spinning out ID Agent to solve a challenge, and then starting down that path, putting kind of a different hat on, and an evangelist type of hat, and growing that. Yeah. And then now, with this platform, we're trying to build, bring both sides of the community together to make it more efficient. So, so I definitely appreciate the kind words, and, you build a great, company or product or organization. But it starts by building a great team. And I'm very fortunate that we built a great team, so let's get kind of into the background. I said, you have you're very visible about your journey, especially up on the Zest website.
Yeah.
Talk about kind of, even like it's humanized. You humanize it in a way that say, look, you're kind of let go back in, was it 2016, and kind of soul searching and kind of started on the path. I mean, so kind of take us through that process. Like what happened? How'd you feel? And then, it was like, how'd you pick the boots up off the ground and move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting thinking back, during those times. And I mean, I started, in the MSP space. I actually started with a big MSP now. I think they're like 90 million a year or more, called Synoptic. They're big MSP. Started with them and worked there for a while. And then I went to a smaller MSP, very small actually. And both experiences were great and learned a lot. And then I was still working in that, but also had an opportunity to work for, at the same time, really a company called Aero Electronics, big, massive company again. So working through all that. And then they decided to move the whole office back to headquarters. And so it's like, well, some people didn't have the choice. Some people were like, we'll bring you back, that kind of thing. And at the time, I wasn't going to move or any of that. So yeah, I did some soul searching. And the first thing I did, straight up was I said, I need to go find the smartest tech I've ever known. Like, I got to go find that person and convince them to start an MSP with me. And so I did that. Chad Mazak, textbook IT engineer, tech. He's lived it from the time he was a child. Super smart. And it convinced him, hey, let's start an MSP IT service. And then we also brought in Andrea, who's my wife. She's a UI UX designer, marketing and branding and all that. So we kind of had these three different things going on. I kind of had more of the financial sales side to me, admin side. And so we had this kind of three-headed, approach or monster, whatever. So yeah, we started it. It was just so exciting and building it up and seeing our strategy behind everything and putting that in place. And then, you get more customers and it just really flourished. And it just, eventually just really ran without us, but just, I just love the space, being an MSP and what you provide for customers. For me, it's just nothing better, or more fun. I just, it's so critical and there's so much involved in trying to, build that business. So yeah, that's what we did and built it up, to a really, really good size and in our market and just kind of went from there. So.
Yeah. So along the way, so what's cool, and if I think we get the you've got the URL in your title area, ZestMSP.com. If anybody's watching, definitely hop onto the site and look at the About Us, because you take us through that journey of getting to X number of endpoints, right? And then it looks like it's almost like you can almost, I don't know, is the entrepreneur or small business, entrepreneur coming out of me, I guess, but you almost feel like those inflection points, those are like the pivotal moments. And then you talk about, expanding into different geographies and what have you. What's been the most rewarding part of kind of the growth? Is it just solving the customer need? Is it the expansion? Is it the, I don't know, it's the thrill of scale? What's been the most exciting part about it?
Yeah, I think the most rewarding part is, the service end of it to the customers in having a unique a service offering that fits for a set of customers and then grows and scales. And in MSPs out there, I just, they're going to identify this. But I remember with, we're like, oh, we just got to get that first customer, just got to get that first customer. And, years later, customers are coming in all the time and you're still grateful, but it's not like getting that first customer and then building upon that. And just some of the things you do that you maybe would still do, but don't have the time anymore. I remember one Christmas, the very first Christmas, I dressed up as Buddy the Elf and we went around and we actually did Christmas carols to our customers we had. I don't know, we probably had 8 or 10 customers at the time. And I think my daughter helped. We all kind of we went, and it was a dumb idea, but they loved it. Like the customers just absolutely loved it. And I think it's just rewarding building something that does work in the marketplace that you're rewarded for and that people enjoy. We had our attrition rate was just so low. I mean, we went years and years without ever losing a customer, and then even after that, it was just super low. And so, but that was based on key principles and strategies and knowing that, yeah, it's technology, it's an IT service, MSP, but it really starts with these small to medium businesses and what they need. And sometimes I think that gets missed out there is that they really need that service. They need your presence on site, remote. They need help with decisions. They need, I heard I don't remember where I heard it the other day, but IT services are like the universe ever expanding or something like, and you have to be careful with that, right? You have to, but there is a thing to that, offering that value in the service really for that small to medium business is so key, and focusing on that. I think that was just so rewarding in seeing that, we would get, referrals and really the other thing we did, and I would say early on, but right out of the gate, I wasn't thinking of growth through service delivery. Right out of the gate, I was, need a sales and marketing engine, and I'm trying to advice here and there and stuff. But really for us, and I think it's different for MSPs across the country and across the world, like growth through service delivery is really where we settled in. And we would sprinkle some sales and marketing in there, some social media and stuff, but it really was the focus. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think that there's some MSPs that are very heavy, strong sales, marketing, and they probably grow fine through that. It's rewarding in its own sense. But I would say to MSPs out there, and it's okay. That's an okay path too, to grow through service delivery. Really focus on that, and don't. We just had very little resources to the sales and marketing, or didn't do too much, just some, but that also was fun for us. I mean, that was fun for us. When we did get new business, it was, we weren't really chasing it down, I mean, every now and then a little bit, or, so, but yeah, that was one thing that we really focused in on that I thought was rewarding, was that growth through service delivery.
Yeah. It's funny. There are a lot of voices in this space that tell you have to go, a certain path, and and that might work for a certain percentage of the marketplace. And then, another guru says, go down this path and do these things. That might work for that other kind of demographic or group. But it's, I think to your point, it's finding what your success formula is and leaning into it. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of MSPs. Especially when they're all typically starting out, they're all pressed for time. Like their biggest commodity is time. Yeah. And do you lean into this service based approach, grow through expansion, or do you just ramp up this front end sales and marketing and catch can, right?
I agree, Kevin, that, and I do think there's a lot of uniqueness to this, to being an MSP in the space. I really believe that. I've got my MBA. I only say that because, through all the schooling I got and through other experience I've had, it's not every industry that has some of the challenges we have. It's not. And so, one example would be, I have a nephew that's he is a top amazing salesperson, and he's in an industry and does phenomenal, very well. And so we expanded to another state, and that was great, exciting. Got some customers there, and he lived in that state, and so it's like, hey, would you like to do some sales for us? In this and that, and even he, after 6 months or a year, absolutely said, "Wow, this is different sales. This is it's tough." And I say that out of respect for him because again, he's very good. And so, yeah, it's a little different in that sense, I think. Not that you can't do it, but it is unique. And so because of that, I think there is different ways to scale and be a successful MSP. I don't, again, a lot of the voices sometimes try to, have one path or two paths, but I think there is a lot of different ways to do it. And just that in and of itself, MSPs, look to your strengths. We had strength with some good branding and marketing. That was a strength. I wouldn't say we had a strength in sales. So, I don't think Chad and Andrea and I, any of us are very good salespeople at all. And so, okay, so yeah, that we didn't lean to that, but the small medium businesses, they will gravitate towards that uniqueness as well. I think it's a positive in the space. I like that there's a lot of small MSPs out there. I do. I think that the customer service level a lot of times can be so much higher because of that. In an MSP, they might get to 30, 40 customers or whatever the number is. And maybe they can't quite grow past that because they've got to learn some things or do some things. But those customers are probably getting great service, and so the challenge is to learn that. But there's also a lot of professionals, I think, and owners and MSPs that there's maybe some lifestyle in there too. They like what they're doing. They like to work with the tech. And so there's, again, nothing wrong with that. So yeah, that's where really we leaned to as well. And, I have this conversation all the time because tools and, integrations and all that stuff out there and all the options we have. And I think it's important and, choose a good stack and all that. But spend time with your customers, with your staff, learning technology, like spend time strategy on the business. And I get it because again, Chad is, he is the definition of IT engineer tech. And he would say himself that he would rather just spend all his time head down doing that stuff. Really hard to maybe look at business strategy or maybe a way to make it a really good place to work, or this kind of package or that package, or maybe look to a sales and marketing technique or solution and so any of that. I think that does get kind of challenging in this space, and I would just say don't look to vendors to solve that for you. Don't look to integrations and tools and all that. They help, and they're a good help, but they're not going to solve that for you. So yeah.
I couldn't say it better myself, and I think kind of again going back to that winning formula. I think it's you guys are in a fortunate position where you had call it a three-headed, I wouldn't say monster, right? But you guys had three-headed, three legs of the stool. Wow, there's some pretty good lightning there. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got three individuals with three core strengths.
Yeah.
Right? And it sounds like they were the perfect strengths, at the right time to one's worried about kind of the technology and service delivery, one's pulling things together operationally, kind of marketing, and it sounds like it's been a winning formula for you guys.
Yeah.
So let's get into Zest and
Zest.
Let's hear about this frustration and the challenge.
So here. Yeah, we never meant to do it. We didn't want to. But we've been in the space for forever, and we have used everything out there. Chad and I, we really did different things. We've you name it, we've tried it. And so, at one point, we were using a product we used before, came back to it, and we just sat down one day and said, you know what? these frustrations they're just too much. Let's build something. Let's see if it can help MSPs. Let's see what we can do. We partner with some really good people in terms of backing and development, stuff like that. And for a year and a half, we built it and created it, and then just pretty much this year kind of rolled it out. And so the whole idea behind Zest really is that complexity, slay the dragon of complexity. We have the knight, and we just feel like it's a rebellion. We and part of it's this, and I think Kevin, you can identify with this. Anyone that's ever built anything, we were told we were crazy, right? You are absolutely crazy to build this product. If you really want to do something, just do something little that somebody can come and acquire, that kind of thing. And we just, that was not what resonated with us. It's not the passion, And so, we sat down and built it out. And really, for us, it's just, we cleared the board and we just said, what do MSPs need to help them keep customers, work with their staff, learn technology? What is minimal, simple? What can help them? Because for us, it feels like paperwork, right? Like your PSA is just paperwork and all that other stuff, and time as well. Which time's an interesting subject. I mean, that really can get interesting in a group of MSPs in a room. Time, I was at MSP GeekCon and we were in a room with Ray OIT. They're amazing, by the way. And he was doing questions and stuff. And there was some MSP saying, well, time doesn't even matter. We just want to make sure that we're doing a good job for the customers and this and that. So then that's confusing to me, because I'm a numbers person. I'm like, that's a big hole I feel like you're missing if you don't know, so that's kind of confusing, but I understand what they're saying. Some people are saying, no, you got to have time. But for me, the bottom line is this, again, being in this space for as long as Chad and I have been in it, time has always been rough. And so we'd always get about 50-60% of time, and then the rest of it would be admin or something else, just this big black hole. And techs and engineers would just revolt against, timekeeping and stuff like that. And so, but we understood though, because it could be very complicated, it could be very, it's something they do over and over. And so there's a lot of constraints with that in a lot of what we saw out there. And so that was something else that we just made super simple, easy to do, just takes no time at all to capture all your time. And we have the feedback now. A lot of MSPs using the product, and good sized ones even, and they're saying they're capturing 98, 99% of time without the fight and the battle. And well, there's something else too I want to mention too, Kevin, which this could be good or bad for me. So here we go. We'll roll the dice on this, but we've rolled the dice a few times and it's been good for us. But so, we don't think that we think that a lot of the industry's gotten it wrong when it comes to PSA, because we don't think techs and engineers want to customize their PSA. They want to customize a server project. They want to custom, network, this and that. There's a lot of things they love to customize. We don't think they want to do it their PSA. And partly, how do I know that? Because Chad. I always ask Chad. That's if I ask Chad, and so they don't want to. So, for Zest, it comes just out of the box ready to use. So there's very little customization. There's a few things you can customize, very little. And we're standing by that because the reporting, all the reporting, which is very good, the reports you need to know how you're doing as an MSP, all you have to do is just use it and it's there. You can search by any kind of calendar, time frame, whatever, but you just pull it up, it's there. There's nothing to build. There's nothing to continue to build. There's no this and that. So, it's just a product that's very streamlined, very simple. We don't want our mission is we don't want MSPs spending a lot of time with it. They're going to be in it, tickets and all that kind of stuff, but not a lot of time with it. It just works for them. And so, again, it's not going to be for everyone. And, but that's kind of what we're aiming for that. So.
Well, look, I think to your point, and trust me on this because I see probably a dozen and a half technologies every day. The industry is looking for simplicity because the challenge is getting more complex, right? And the tools are becoming a lot more complex. And maybe that's more specific to some security challenges in general. But that zero to getting started to being out in the world and supporting customers, if you can have an impact on that time up front, that's more time that whether it's the technician or the business owner, they have to go out and work on a business or support a customer. And so I think there's beauty in simplicity, and it kind of goes back to what we did with, we took a very complex challenge with ID Agent back in the day. Spun that out of, a federal program that we were working on, government programs. And what they wanted was something significantly more complex. But then when we scaled it back and we brought it to the channel, we made it just very easy, very intuitive, didn't overcomplicate it. And I think to your point, that's what there's a, everybody's trying to keep up with each other and, kind of, match
excellent product
cadences.
By the way, we loved it. Yeah. Great product.
Thank you. But I think the way you're approaching it makes total sense. I think the industry is going to appreciate simplicity because everything is so damn complex these days.
Yeah, very complicated. And in some cases, we understand why. And also, there are some very large MSPs out there, very big. And if you have a person or a department that can, run some of your tools and software stuff, like I get that. I get the complexity in that. And, but what we do know is a majority of this market. I think I've heard 82%, I've heard 85, I've heard up to 90. So I guess somewhere between 80 and 90%. It is small MSPs, small businesses, and I think you really struggle. Again, we think there's a lot of good solutions out there. We really do. We're not, haters in that way, but we think they really struggle with trying to maintain those systems. And again, they're a business though. So you're not a tech and engineer anymore. You're a business owner now. And you got to focus on some things that are not going to be in your tools, your strategy, your service delivery, your uniqueness, your marketing, your branding, and then being with your customers, so, and the industry actually does, I think, a great job of training as much as it can of the different conferences and the different people out there. I mean, we have Kyle Kloon's on board with Zest, and his the marketing training and stuff he's done over the years is great. Kyle Christensen does some great training with the basics of how to run a successful business, and so there's a lot of that out there, and we think that helps. But yeah, we want to keep it simple for them, and they use it out of the box, and and it rolls in that way. So I'll tell you, and the timekeeping thing too, that is interesting. Again, we think it's very important. We think you got to know where your time's going, especially if you're charging, if you get away from that break fix model, you just got to know. And so, we think it's important, but there's debate. It's a more heated debate than I realized when I went to MSP GeekCon. But I can tell you one thing that is plaguing us a little bit, though, that we're dealing with. So the struggle, integrations. This industry loves integrations, and we, for whatever reason, not only Chad and I, but other places I've been, and integrations was just not that big a thing. maybe a few, but not a lot. But we spoke to an MSP a couple weeks ago, just a one person shop. And he had like 25 integrations with different things. I mean, and so, yeah, we definitely, that's something we know we need. We do have a lot of people that get in and just love the product, really do. And then they're like, oh, you don't integrate with this. And we're like, oh. And so that's full what we're focused on right now. We just integrated with Ninja One. We love Ninja One, and Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, and then we've got some others, some more RMMs we're going to be integrating with, and documentation, that kind of thing. But I think as the core ones roll out, that will help. But I don't know if we're going to be like this, 50, 100, 120, integration list. I don't know, but because again, I think that too is. You can lose your focus a little bit. That's just how, integration and automation. I always say just, it serves a purpose, but be a little careful, I don't know what you think about that, Kevin, but.
I'd agree. I'd assume there's probably 15 to 20, maybe obvious or core integrations that, between, some of the major, product categories that make a lot of sense. And then some of those secondary and tertiary integrations, I think at that point you have to look at really what is the overall impact or value you're going to receive from those levels of integrations. And so, that is one of the challenges, is that this is an integration, the mentality is integration. But I think the reality is oftentimes, those integrations either fail or they're not used to their full benefit.
Yes. Yeah. And so actually I have a pretty good example of that, because again, thinking from like my mind is on the business and in numbers, and so I remember we had a PAX 8 integration once with a different tool, and we were pretty excited, but it just didn't work that well. It helped a little bit, and that's fine, but you still have to check and make sure, and we were talking to an MSP the other day, and they're like, oh, great, I have this, like PAX 8 integration, and so now I can just send invoices. I don't think about it, It's like, oh, well, wait a minute, you have a business strategy, or not strategy, you have a business principle where you better check that invoice, the PAX 8 invoice, with your customer invoice and with this. And so I do sometimes think that some of those things are lost a little bit with, and it's not, the set it and forget it is, I think they help some, but you set it and forget it, I think you get in trouble. And so, yeah, it's always that in automations, I don't know if we've already talked about this, but I'm getting older, Kevin. So, but automations, automate what you hate. But if you hate customer service, probably shouldn't be an MSP. It's, it really is a lot of customer service. And so we always wanted as many customer touch points as we could get, within reason. And so we would do automation, especially on the back end stuff, and all. But if it was customer touch point, even a new ticket, we grew so fast with just things like that, really. And I say that in a humble way, but we grew per the industry. We grew very fast. And one of the reasons was things like that. We had these customer touch points. This is not IT related, but I remember way back when I was younger in school, there's this real estate agent out of San Diego, and he's just top agent, in San Diego. And he's telling this story about he's walking out the door. He just had a closing. And he's walking out the door of his office. He's got these balloons and some candy and some flowers where he's going to go take it to the person, his customer that just closed on a house. He's walking out the door, and this other agent looks at him, who hadn't sold anything all year, just really struggling, hasn't done well at all. And this other agent looks at him and says, Brian, don't you know there's services that do that for you? Like there's a service you can hire that will, take that. And, and he said, he just nodded and said, oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll think of that. I'll look at that, and just laughed all the way to his vehicle and got in. Cause he said he walks in the office, right? He's walking through cubicles, balloons are bouncing off things, pretty much everyone, it's like meerkats, they're all popping up looking, they're seeing that, and he's delivering it. She sees it and they see it. Right. And he grew through referral, like lights out. And so I'll never forget that story. And I always think in our industry, be careful with customer touch points. You really can automate to the point where, you don't have them. And Chad and I would say everyone in this industry has had this experience, but I know Chad and I, working for other places, have where the tech's fine. It's a law office. The network's great. All their tickets have met up. Everything's great. Was that lightning strike? And
it's a pretty good one. Sorry.
Yeah. Everything's great. No cause for concern, right? And then the managing partner, can't file a brief for some reason. It's self-inflicted, but he thinks it's something to do with the IT. He's mad, whatever. And he says the words, I don't even know who our IT is. I don't even know who they are. Who are they? Right? Like, it's like, whoa, that's like, it's like walking in one day and you think you're doing great by these customers, and you are, per the zeros and ones. You're doing marvelous, but this industry, business, it's not about that. It is about the relationships, and we hear it all the time, but it really is. And so, yeah, I'd say, careful what you automate, those kind of things, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to keep the thunder down.
No, you're good. I'm excited. We're hot here. So I think that lightning that I wish we had some.
No, all good. Now look, you're so spot on, and it's interesting, right? Because there's a strong push. There's a rise in these solutions that automate, or not automate, but audit your billing. Because so many people are API based, and to your point, it's like set it and forget it, and then oh crap, things have changed dramatically over the last 6 months. My overbilling, my underbilling, my license counts, and you can automate so much, and then you're gonna have to, eventually with this over automation and integration, you're gonna have to have these third-party tools to try to keep you honest. And I guess the jury's still out on really how effective those will be in the long run. Sure. I think there's some great solutions out there, like Collins Group with Gradient. I know there's one down in APAC, Cloud Olive. They're trying to do something similar, but to your point, you can over-engineer, you can over-architect. If you don't have the right kind of goal in mind. And same thing's happening with the customer experience space. There's a push to automate the customer interaction and and kind of distance yourselves and make your your frontline more efficient. And there's definitely an argument for that.
Sure.
But you don't want to get to the point where you over automate and there's no longer a relationship and it's just technology and the buyer or the customer is thinking, all right, well, it's basically switching this one out. It's switching a Lenovo out for a Dell or something like that. And so I know there's probably a lot more engagement that goes on in relationship there, but to your point, I think again, finding your success formula, it's you've leaned into building a relationship, you leaned into I think there's power in they always say everybody in your organization is a salesperson, and that interaction on the help desk, whether it's a password reset or something more complex, it's an opportunity to build a relationship, right? That
is our belief. And even within Zest, we have this dash bar that everyone can see in the org, and it's on it anywhere you go, you'll see it, green, yellow, red, and it lets everyone participate and jump in to keeping customers happy. And because I think our industry, I think specifically small to medium customers. So they're not, even if they've had enterprise level jobs, their business at the time is not that. So the small medium business, they're not expecting a lot of set it and forget it, all that kind of stuff. They do want that interaction, and usually you'll find out too late, when they replace you. And so now, if you're talking about enterprise level customers, I think they expect the opposite. I think they expect, this just needs to run smooth. You can automate and integrate, do all that you want. If you're running this smooth, oh man, we're going to be singing your praises, that enterprise level. But I just don't, for the most part, I don't think that's what this market is. It's small to medium businesses, so they want that, And then I would say this, and again, I can say stuff like this because Chad, because right, that's my buddy, right? So I can say things like this, and I do say them all the time, and he laughs. But techs and engineers, they love too much the automation and stuff and all that, right? And the integrate, they do, that's them. That's their. So it's almost like they need to fight against it a little bit. If you want to be a successful MSP and build a really good workplace, where people have fun, all these things, you have to fight against that a little bit. It's counterintuitive, but you have to a little bit. So that's why, other industries, I would say, they don't have that problem, because it's not inherent to them to just put their head in the tech or whatever and never look up, but with ours it is, and so it's a little different that way, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, to your point earlier on, right? I mean, it's a very unique marketplace, and I think it's about finding that right balance, that right formula for your business. And, some, they find it right away. Some, it takes them a decade, if not more. And then at that point, they're trying to figure out, is this a lifestyle business or is this something to scale and be acquired?
Yeah.
So that's big. We're getting a really, really, I don't know if you noticed, we're getting a really good storm here. The dog actually normally sits by the window, and she went, I think she might be down in the basement. It's pretty legit. But so I guess what's the best way to find you, find Zest? What can we do the audience with?
Yeah, just, online, ZestMSP.com. You can get a demo, sign up for a demo, a free trial, 14-day trial. We do like doing the demos. We promise that we are not salesy. I can guarantee you we're not. And we also promise that we'll be brief and to the point. But this product is different enough in a good way that we do like to get a demo. It shows them around a little bit to where, because it's nothing like anything else out there. It just isn't, in a good way. So, but yeah, they just go online and do one of those two things and go from there. And, join the rebellion and just grow that MSP how much you want it, and take the chaos out of your day. There's just things we have in that product that kind of take the chaos out of the day-to-day stuff. So, but yeah, we'd love to connect, and just, even if just to talk, we'll just, even if we chat, that's great.
Cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me. I think the honor is on my side. So I love seeing the innovation. I love seeing kind of the drive and kind of that background coming from an MSP, understanding the pains, the daily struggles. I think that's tremendous asset as you're building out these solutions. So good on you for that.
Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate you and your team. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks.